Alrighty, daily trading recap. Let's get after it today on this Tuesday, the 19th of April, 2022. No other equity trades for me other than the little futures stabbies that I did today, getting me to the P&L that I had on the day. Like I mentioned in yesterday's daily trading recap, I missed out on setting the algorithmic strategy through my Ninja Trader to be able to capture that session-wide strategy that I have going, but have kind of fine-tuned those kinks in that one and just my own stupidity and ignorance of not being there or present enough to have the wherewithal to be pushing that button and have it set in beforehand. But just to go over some dollar volume again beforehand, just as reference for me as I watch these videos back. NASDAQ $215 billion volume on the day as of an hour, 22 minutes after the close. NYSE $319 billion volume. OTC is $2.4 billion volume on the day. To Christ be the glory in all ways, in all things. SPY with a very, very nice green day today. And I wrote specifically in my journal of being able to capture kind of just, I don't want to say that I was so well prepared for that MES trade that I did take on one contract for a full intraday move on SPY today. But these are the types of days on SPY that definitely want to start capturing more. And that just like these types of charts are what's cemented in my head as this is a trend day on SPY that we see. It doesn't have to be a specific type of pressure out of the gate, but we put in a little tiny low that gets bought up back quickly, back above you up there, a little bit higher low, and I get in on this second as I'm pulling up other tickers, pulling up other charts, just seeing this one. I get one MES contract. I've done this in the past of, hey, let's find a good risk-reward area, and of course use it on the MES contract side so we can maintain appropriate. It's still, if this move is what I expect it to be, it's still very nice P&L for my account size. But we cannot make it just the OC green and just buy it. It has to be based on good metrics, on good, solid, fundamental substance that has to be there in order for me to feel confident and convicted in taking a trade. I mentioned this. I want to go back to the last week, Friday, of when I wasn't when I took away that 930 strategy and I was trying to make up that money that I missed out on. I'm trying to think that I was just scalping any and all moves that were coming. But being able to hold myself back and understand that this is a totally different type of trade than that just very FOMO and scalpy mindset that gets me into a lot of trouble. It's gotten me into a lot of trouble in the past. But this trade, I literally was just pulling up SPY and thinking, gosh, we're kind of in a little bottomish, or we're finding a little bit of pullback range after it had that, call it another bounce attempt. So, we've been trading around these little lows here for the past 4 days-ish or so. Hey, we're putting in a few little higher lows here. Maybe we could have a nice little bouncing day. So then the thought was hey, we put in that higher low. Seeing that, recognizing it, I did feel myself getting a little bit chasey with that entry of, okay, as it's bouncing off of there. Okay, maybe I should have waited a little bit more. Maybe I should wait till the actual breakout to confirm an entry there, because it's not trying to be just so spot on with my specific point entry that I'm trying to nail the exact breakout or nail the exact top on this trade, but just be a part of the move. That's what I feel this index tracking is, for how many times, especially me, have gotten stopped out or just played like an absolute fiddle for how these things can just go crazy berserk whichever way they want to, wherever the wind blows at certain times. But of being part of the full sentiment that is there, that is the meat of the move that I'm looking for. And these are the days to capitalize on, like I mentioned, for full trend day sentiment. Full trend day sentiment. Yeah, I said that right. Of just being a part of recognizing that, okay, it truly has started to, it's not a perfect exact bottom like how we want to see a lot of small caps or even OTC tickers trade perfectly to a specific price level, or even a more key psychological level of a whole dollar level or a $half level, versus trading an index that, okay, yeah, you're finding. It's not so much about finding an exact bottom and then playing it perfectly off of that, and like anything ever is, but I think the best quote on that is from Brian Shannon of, a bottom is a process. And not to say that this is the bottom, that it's just going to start trending back towards that 4631 little relative high there. But just to say of like, okay, well, this is pullback territory. It's just continuing to depress. Okay, depress a little bit, maybe consider that somewhat of a fake out. Okay, it's holding decently well. Hey, let's play off of that. So I can't say that this specific trade was the most awesome risk reward wise. I want to say, obviously I was risking going to be this low, and okay, of course, if it's allowing for a little bit of slippage, if it's going to take out that low during market hours still, yeah, I'm definitely going to be out of this trade. But yeah, really not factoring in any key profit target beforehand. So I come into this saying, okay, yeah, I've got an entry. Okay, wow, hey, it's working out. We get in a new breakout. We're holding that breakout level. Okay, now we're continuing to test. I'm just setting very arbitrary profit target orders in. My first one was 44.50. I'm saying, okay, I think it's going to go. I'm just going to let it set it and forget it. Let it do what it wants to do. I'm going to put an order in at 44.50. Let's see if it has a full Green Day trend day sentiment in it, and see if we crack there, because it's one MES contract. It's not about the money at this point when I'm trading one MES contract specifically too. Let's just see where it takes us. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, its price is moving pretty succinctly and sharply right now. Okay, well, maybe let's go like 44.30. Go back to that futures chart just to see how relative I was trading there. 44.30, okay, from my entry of around 4395-ish. That my entry was filled there on one contract. Okay, let's set it like 44.30. I think we could trend there. You know, it's not like so absolute crazy demanding so much for this to push out of it. That's not like trying to force more out of the trade than is actually there, but I can see that being a reasonable opportunity. And then sure enough, as we get to just closer and closer, as we get more volume coming in on not only the future side, but on the S&P 500 side itself, on SPY, saying, okay, price is moving pretty quickly here. It's getting a little bit away from VWAP, more than I feel comfortable with, of thinking that there's more sustained movement coming after this. So that's another point too that I can consider in the future of, okay, maybe now I need to, if I want to take more of these, then I got to be taking multiple MES contract size so I can start to just scale out the trade instead of having to be all in or all out with one contract, of taking some profit as it is there, and just being able to go off of that, pay myself along the way, not try to force more out of the trade than I think is really there, but still pushing it, and I want to say leveraging isn't the most apropos word, but leveraging it and pushing it as hard as I can without trying to push more out of it than I think is actually there. So great experience on that one again today. Those are certainly the little patterns that aren't in the playbook. They aren't what I want to be doing as a trader. I guess they're not the most, like, I just want to say stylistic or classy of, you know, what I would consider myself as, oh, he nails those types of trades, or I nail these types of trades. I can see this and recognize it, but it's about making money. How many times have I mentioned this in the past few daily trading recaps of, doesn't matter what anything looks like, doesn't matter what trade, what chart, what ticker that I pick. If I'm making money, then nobody can say anything. The fact of the matter is, when it stops making money, and eventually all of these things will, that's when any critique or criticism can start to come in and badger the whole entire process of what that chart is, what the trade was. But if it's making money, who is there to be to knock it? Because that's what we're all here to do. It's fun to say, like, oh, I trade this specific pattern, and this is my entire playbook. This is how I go about it. But all anybody ever really cares about at the end of the day is, how much money did you make? Doesn't matter if it's through the modality of futures, like it did today, or through equities. It's about making that hard cash show less. So continuing to just pound that into my noggin over and over again, and taking the money as it is provided. So then did not push a button on the long side or the short side. I really wanted to be, one of my playbook trades that I would consider would be this morning dump setup on AYTU and also PMCB. Different fundamentals on both of them, but around the same type of float. I think PMCB was a little bit lower float. 18 million float on PMCB. AYTU was around a 30-ish million floater. Similar types of, we love these downtrending daily charts. PMCB, similar type of thing, just gross, ugly, terrifying to be a part of. That's what I'm looking for. Absolutely to check mark that box on this morning dump setup checklist. But just wasn't part of it. I just did not, for whatever reason, feel confident in it, or was, I can use the excuse of even my health right now was just a little bit off, super tired, other external factors affecting my decision making in that, but it is no excuse whatsoever. I can't make that excuse. It's all on me. There's nobody else to blame for any of this. But just of continuing to evaluate these charts over and over again to see, okay, that failure to maintain VWAP might be my entry signal for all of these trades. For after that initial spike, whatever news catalyst is that's pushing these things, when that comes to say price is saying, okay, we are no longer able to maintain upward price action, and now VWAP is actually starting to decline, and now we are on the downward movement, that is my key to entry. And that's the tough part about it that I found myself in, but didn't really recognize until much later, till a year after I started trading this specific setup of, it's that risk reward that just is sometimes undefinable and so hard to hold myself accountable to, because looking at just even AYTU, to say, okay, if I'm in this thing from that initial spike, when price is obviously saying, okay, that's the failure to maintain VWAP there, it's obviously turning into a reverse V, upside down V there for VWAP itself specifically. I don't want to be risking high of day when I've got a sub 1-2 entry to be risking 1-3. But that was the key. That's normally what I would be risking, to say if it's going to blow through high of day, yeah, then I definitely don't want to be a part of it. But for what the hit rate was on these things, for how I was trading them specifically, still dealing in a large bag of emotions when I first started trading this, as the trade has developed and in the playbook itself and real life applications, it's had to develop to say, yeah, I want to see price immediately start dumping as soon as I get my entry. So then to be able to say this chart worked out far, far, far more beautiful than I would have even been looking for as a profit target, closing, producing huge price action to the downside, dumping below that previous trading day close, which I use as a good barometer to judge for, hey, where should I be looking to potentially start taking a large amount of my profits. But for how much it dumped through there, it still broke to the upside of VWAP after what I would consider to be that initial entry point of price saying, okay, now the upside is we are in the backside mode after that initial perk. But there was still plenty of downside left in it. And to say that, okay, yeah, even if I got stopped out of respecting that rule set to say, hey, if it crosses back above VWAP or if it, and I can say too, VWAP was declining pretty significantly, and it would only have been maybe, I can consider myself 4 cents, 6, all the way up here, 10 cents maybe at most, for what my entry would have been, still playing off of this specific spike and the failure to maintain VWAP there as an entry signal. But still to just respect that of how I feel I have gone about these trades in the past of, I can be totally willing and free when I get my over PDT account of, hey, just cut it. Let it move on to the next one. If it does show a sign that it's going to be failing again, like how I've traded these actually plenty of times before with my sub PDT account of, just get back in it. I mean, here's the sign again that it showed it was able to hold there, put on a lower high, but now price is saying, okay, now that was the final last straw for the chart on the day, to say that's another shorting opportunity there at that, and still risking being able to maintain a risk level of, okay, sure enough, if it does reclaim above VWAP, if price does start to shoot again to the upside here, then it's getting a little bit more tricky, and I definitely don't want to be a part of it. But so I can blame myself in effect for not being a part of either of these ones when I was so keyed in on, I've been so keyed in on them, now wanting to tackle this morning dump strategy again since it has been showing itself, and since I've been there, done that a little bit in trading the setup. It's now just about, it's not about finding out how to short a stock. It's about like, okay, how can we apply this now from this year compared to last year? But then again, it's that risk reward factor that I feel I've been more exposed to of, are these the types of trades that I really want to be taking? And does the hit rate for what I feel these charts are producing overcome that just little cloudiness in my head of, okay, well, is this actually a proper trade, or am I just trying to kind of chasing it and holding and hoping that this pattern works out in comparison to finding an optimal risk reward level of, picking a top as a shorter, or a dip and rip setup, or, put in your example of a breakout trade, blah, 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 all these different things. Whereas this specific playbook trade has to entail a little bit wider of a risk reward. So still carrying in all those factors as I continue to develop my own playbook and just expose myself more and more to my own temptations and feelings of how I want to be and act as a trader. But I certainly feel like I'm getting over that FOMO more and more each and every single day of just not trying to chase that AYTU or that PMCB because, that is my perfect absolute trade. I just didn't recognize it at that time. And then getting in at a price that's just way, way, way beyond my means and really not a reasonable execution, because there's going to be another day and there's going to be another opportunity similar to this, and it's going to be another train car, and I can't ever get in that realm of I need to be making money today, because that's not what it's about. I don't have to be pushing buttons whatsoever. It's a very weird concept that my mind has slowly been adapting itself to, but even finding more value in just watching the chart play out versus then clouding it with the bias and judgment that I then place myself in by having a position on the trade and then trying to find any bias towards, okay, that's that level 2 in time and sales action, that's good for me, versus then if I didn't have a position on, then identifying it for what it is and saying, okay, well, I don't really know what's going on. It could go either way. It could go this way, but it's actually looking a little bit more this way, I think, going short side. Or just vice versa, whatever I mean there. But continual process, and continually thankful for it each and every single day. and I am thankful for each and every one of you watching. We will catch you guys on the next time.